Kylian Mbappe couldn't win the Champions League with PSG. Neymar couldn't win the Champions League at PSG. In fact, even Lionel Messi couldn't win the Champions League at PSG. And you know what? Even all three of them together could still not win the Champions League at PSG. But can Ousmane Dembele? Can Ousmane Dembele be the one to finally take the Champions League trophy to Paris? Let's talk about it. So PSG are set to face Inter Milan in their second ever Champions League final and hoping to bring home the trophy that they've been after for so long. Despite PSG basically winning the French league every year, they've never actually won the Champions League, with the only French team to do so being Marseille. So PSG are going to be looking to create history and become the second French team ever to win the Champions League. But it's not going to be easy. But before I talk about this season's Champions League final, I want to talk about the reason why PSG probably haven't won the trophy before. We're going to start off by going all the way back to the 2012-13 season, and for some reason or another, PSG just couldn't get past the quarterfinals. For 4 seasons in a row, they went out at the quarterfinal stage. We then moved to the 16-17 season, so after going out at the quarterfinals for 4 years, they actually took a step back, and in the 16-17 season, they got knocked out in the round of 16. Now, in the summer of 2017, the world record transfer fee was smashed by PSG, with Neymar becoming the most expensive player ever for 222 million euros. But even then, even with having the most expensive player in the world, PSG couldn't win the Champions League. And you know what? In fact, they couldn't even get past the round of 16 because that's where they were knocked out again for the second season in a row. Now, in the summer of 2018, PSG signed Kylian Mbappe for 180 million euros, making him the second most expensive player ever. So now PSG had the 2 most expensive players ever in the same team, but they still couldn't win the Champions League. For the 3rd season in a row, PSG were knocked out in the round of 16. However, in the 1920 season, PSG made history and made it to their first ever Champions League final. It's quite a sad story though, because this match was actually played behind closed doors because of course COVID took the world over. So no fans actually got to see PSG play in their first ever final. And if you don't know what happened in that final, PSG actually lost to Bayern Munich 1-0. And to rub salt into the wounds, it was a former PSG player that scored the winning goal for Bayern Munich, and that was Kingsley Coman. Now, in the 2021 season, PSG was just as dominant before, making it all the way to the semi-finals before losing to Manchester City in both legs of the tie. Now, 2021, okay, this was an important summer for PSG because they basically went out and bought a super team. PSG bought Gianluigi Donnarumma, they bought Hakimi, they bought Sergio Ramos, they bought Jorginho Wijnaldum, but more important than anyone else, they brought Lionel Messi. So surely with the super team that PSG had, with Neymar, Mbappe and Messi all on the same team, they've got to win the Champions League. Well, that's not exactly how it went. PSG actually went out in the round of 16 despite having this super mega team that they had, and with reaching the semi-final and the final in the past 2 seasons, that's really disappointing. To be honest, they were a bit unlucky facing Real Madrid, but with the squad that they had, they definitely should have made it past the round of 16. But you know what, like I said, maybe they were just unlucky. Facing Real Madrid isn't a very easy thing to do. While in 22-23, they went out again in the round of 16. This time they lost both legs to Bayern Munich. Now again, Bayern Munich are a world-class team, but with the squad that PSG had at this time, they should be getting through. And for some reason or another, it just seems like PSG always fell short when it came to playing the big teams in Europe. Now, in the summer of 2023, PSG lost Lionel Messi, they lost Sergio Ramos, they lost Jorginho Wijnaldum, and they lost Neymar. However, instead of having just a star-filled team, they now just had Kylian Mbappe as the star man. And to be fair, PSG actually kind of did alright in the Champions League again. And in the quarterfinals, PSG did something that they actually had struggled to do for a very long time. They beat Barcelona, who are a big, hard team to beat, and made it to another Champions League semi-final. However, out of all the teams to lose to in the Champions League semi-final, I mean, they beat Barcelona in the round before. They lost to Borussia Dortmund. PSG genuinely should have made it to the final that year, and I do think they would have won it. But for some reason, despite all the hard work, PSG fell short again when it really mattered. Now, of course, in the summer of 2024, Mbappe left to go to Real Madrid, which meant PSG didn't really have any star players. Or did they? Ousmane Dembele stepped forward. Now, last season for PSG, Dembele had 6 goals and 12 assists, which, you know, it's not bad. It's fairly decent. But this season, with PSG, he's been absolutely unreal. And you know what? Despite all the problems he's had in his career of injury, he's really made a name of himself again. This season, he scored 33 goals in all competitions and picked up 11 assists. He's also scored 8 goals in the Champions League, so he's kind of a massive part of why they've been so good this year. However, can they finally beat a big team like Inter Milan when it really matters most? In the group stage of this season's Champions League, PSG lost to Atletico Madrid, they lost to Bayern Munich, and they lost to Arsenal. They did beat Manchester City, but to be fair, this is during the awful run that they went on, so give them a little bit of credit, but Man City were pretty bad at this point. PSG then did lose to Liverpool in Paris in the first round of the 16, but they did beat Liverpool 1-0 at Anfield before winning on penalties, so you've got to give them a little bit of credit again there. PSG then absolutely battered Villa at home in Paris before losing in the second leg away, but did get through 5-4 on aggregate. Now, despite losing to Arsenal in the group stage of the Champions League, PSG beat them in both legs of the Champions League semi-final to reach just their second ever final. But I'm going to be honest, I really can't see them winning it. PSG, for some reason, does always seem to struggle against bigger teams, and I think they're going to struggle against Inter Milan. A lot of this PSG team wouldn't have played in a Champions League final before, whereas a lot of the Inter Milan team would have played in the 22-23 season final when they lost. So, you know, the Inter Milan team, they've been there before. They know what it's like. And like I said, they lost in that final to Manchester City. So the players that did play in that final, they're going to want to make things right. They're going to want to win the Champions League. And I just think they've got the experience that this PSG team doesn't have. PSG in general, the squad is a very young squad, and although it's completely different to PSG squads in the past where it was just a star-filled team, I'm not sure if this squad can handle the pressure. And personally, I don't think they can. I think it's going to be a very good Champions League final, and I'd put my money on both teams to score 100%. But I just think Inter Milan, especially with the way they came in clutch against Barcelona, I just think they're going to win it. So the wait for a Champions League trophy for PSG goes on. And the question is, if they can't win it this season, when are they ever going to win it? But yeah, in my opinion, they're just not going to win it this season. But that's what I think. Guys, I want you to let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Are PSG going to end their Champions League heartbreak, or is the wait going to go on? If you guys did enjoy this video, then please do smash that like button and subscribe to the channel while you are down there. I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out your day. It's going to be an interesting Champions League final. I'm going to be watching it for sure. Thank you guys for taking the time out your day. Stick around and I promise you won't regret it.